Welcome to Do the Math America. I am Charlene Math Shaman. This is Lesson 10, Multiplying Integers. I work out of the Beginning Algebra book. Please use the link in the description box below this video to make a hard copy of this textbook for yourself. It is out of print and no longer available for purchase. My video lessons from lesson 7 through 47 use the material from this textbook. Today's lesson is from pages 17 and 18. Multiplying integers. Rules for multiplying any two integers, a and b. The multiplicand times the multiplier equals the product. We look at the example, 2 times 4 equals 8. 2 is the multiplicand, 4 is the multiplier, and 8 is the product. More commonly, we call 2 and 4 the factors and 8 the product. There are different ways to indicate multiplication. 2 times 4, times could be drawn as an X sign. The dot between the two factors also indicates multiplication, and we can use a parenthesis to indicate multiplication. The parenthesis can be around either the multiplicand or the multiplier, or both factors. If the factors a and b have the same sign, then the product is positive. So positive a times positive b equals a positive ab. Negative a times negative b also equals a positive ab. So in looking at numerical examples, 8 times 4 equals a positive 32. Negative 8 times negative 4 also equals positive 32. If for any two integers a and b, they have opposite signs, then the product is negative. That is to say, a times negative b equals negative ab. Negative a times positive b also equals negative ab. So when we look at some numerical examples, we see that 8 times negative 4 equals negative 32. And negative 8 times positive 4 also equals negative 32. The distributive property can be described this way. A times open parenthesis b plus c closed parenthesis. This expression means a times b plus a times c, and remove the parenthesis. In the case of a open parenthesis b minus c close parenthesis, this multiplies out to be a times b minus a times c, removing the parenthesis. I will show you numerical examples of the distributive property later. Multiplication is commutative and associative. By commutative, we mean a times b equals b times a. And when we say multiplication is associative, we mean when you multiply a times b first before multiplying c, that will get you the same answer as if you multiply b and c first and then multiply a. The product of any integer and negative 1 is the additive inverse of the integer. What that means is that negative 1 times a equals negative a. Negative 1 times negative 1 equals the negative of negative 1, which equals positive 1. Negative a times negative b equals negative 1 times a times negative 1 times b. And using the associative property, can move the factors around. Minus 1 times minus 1 times ab. The negative 1 times negative 1 equals positive 1. 1 times ab is just ab. A times 1 equals 1 times a, which equals a. A times 0 equals 0 times a, which equals 0. Now for some numerical examples. 5 times 4 equals 20. Negative 5 times negative 4 also equals 20. 5 times negative 4 equals negative 20, and negative 5 times positive 4 equals negative 20. The top two examples show that two factors with the same sign multiply to be a positive product. And meanwhile, the bottom two examples show that factors with different signs multiply out to be negative. Negative 8 times 0 plus 8 times 0 equals 0 plus 0, which equals 0. Negative 8 times 0 times 6 equals 0, because any number multiplied with 0 equals 0. Now we look at 4 times negative 1 times negative 2. 4 times negative 1 equals negative 4. We write that on the line below, and we bring down negative 2 to continue the problem on the next line, giving us negative 4 times negative 2, which equals positive 8. Negative 2 times negative 3 times negative 4. What does that equal? First, we multiply negative 2 times negative 3, which equals positive 6. We write that on the line below, and we bring down the rest of the equation times negative 4. So now we have 6 times negative 4, which equals negative 24. We box our answer. Next example, 4 times negative 2 times negative 3 times negative 4. Please notice I spread out my numbers and symbols and signs when I write out my equation. We work out the problem from left to right. 4 times negative 2 equals negative 8. We write that on the next line, bringing down the rest of the equation times negative 3 times negative 4. Now I'm ready to multiply negative 8 times negative 3, which equals positive 24, writing that down on the next line, and again bringing down the rest of the equation times negative 4. Finally, I have 24 times negative 4, and I do the multiplication on the side. 24 times 4 equals 96, and I notice I have a negative times a positive, which means the answer is negative 96. I box my answer. Next, negative 2 times open parenthesis 3 minus 4 close parenthesis. So we use the distributive property here. First, we multiply out negative 2 times 3, which gives us negative 6. Next, we multiply out negative 2 times negative 4, which equals positive 8. We write plus 8 next to negative 6, so we have negative 6 plus 8, which equals positive 2. We box our answer. Another way to approach this problem is negative 2 times open parenthesis 3 minus 4, same problem, and first we simplify within the parenthesis 3 minus 4, which equals negative 1. We multiply that with negative 2, so now we have negative 2 times negative 1, which equals positive 2. We box our answer. Harvey sold 110 books last month. Each book earned a $3 profit. How much was the profit last month? So first we start with 110 books sold. And the second fact of the problem is that each book earned a $3 profit. I write that down as a $3 profit per book, and the total profit equals X. So X would equal 110 books sold times $3 profit per book. So 110 times 3. I do that equation on the side. 110 times 3 equals 330. So X equals $330 profit. And box my answer. There are 12 eggs in one box. You bought 5 boxes. How many eggs did you buy? I find that it's always helpful to start out by drawing a picture of the problem. So I have 12 eggs in one box, and now I bought 5 boxes. Each of those boxes have 12 eggs. So how many total eggs are there? This is a multiplication problem, 12 times 5. I write out that equation, 12 times 5 equals 60. So there are 60 eggs. I box my answer. A number is a product of 12 and 8 minus 15. What is the number? So that would be 12 times 8 in parentheses, because we do that calculation first, and then minus 15. So 12 times 8 minus 15 equals the number. So we start with 12 times 8. We do that calculation on the side to get 96. I write 96 underneath 12 times 8, and I bring down the rest of the equation, minus 15. On the next line, while I continue the problem. Now I do 96 minus 15 on the side, and 96 minus 15 is 81. So the number equals 81. I box my answer. Light travels at the rate of about 300 million meters per second. It takes 8 minutes and 20 seconds for the light from the sun to reach the earth. Find the distance from the sun to the earth. So it takes 8 minutes and 20 seconds for the light to travel from the sun to the earth, and we need to figure out how many total seconds is that. There are 60 seconds in 1 minute, so how many total seconds is 8 minutes and 20 seconds? And we figure that out by multiplying 8 minutes times 60 seconds per minute plus 20 seconds. So I do the calculation, 60 times 8 on the side, which works out to be 480. I write that on the line below to show I've simplified 8 times 60. I bring down the rest of the equation, plus 20. So now I have 480 plus 20 equals 500. Now to find the distance from the sun to the earth, we multiply 300 million meters per second, which is how fast light travels, times 500 seconds. This multiplication problem may seem complicated because it has so many zeros that we have to keep track of, but it will become clearer if you watch lessons 17 through 19 discussing multiplication of decimals and scientific notation. But in simple form, you just multiply 3 times 5 and add up all the zeros of the factors and include them in the product. So 3 times 5 is 15, and we have 10 zeros behind it. I like to draw scoops under the zeros to count them all and make sure I haven't forgotten any. And starting from the ones column, make sure you draw a comma after every 3 zeros going towards the left so you can keep track of the place value. And here I mark the thousands place, the millions place, and the billions to figure that I have 150 billion. So according to these calculations, we are 150 billion meters from the sun to the earth, and I box my answer. If your heart beats 75 times per minute, how many times does your heart beat in 1 hour? This problem I cannot draw a picture of, so I will just write down the facts of the problem: 75 beats per minute and 60 minutes per hour. So to figure out how many times my heart beats in 1 hour, I will multiply 75 beats per minute times 60 minutes per hour. 75 times 60, I do that calculation on the side and I work it out to be 4,500. So your heart beats 4,500 times in 1 hour. And I box the answer. The best way to get good at math is to do lots of practice problems. Practice problems for this lesson are on page 18. Please do as many problems as you need to get a firm grasp of the material and check your answers with those in the back of the book to make sure you did the problems correctly. Those answers are on page 290. I hope this video was helpful for you. Thank you for joining me at Do the Math America.